Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. I'm in a bit of a binge right now trying out different loadouts as an alternative to builds. Because, let's be honest, the best builds for each class right now are weapon agnostic. They don't require any specific weapons at all. Those of course being Getaway Artist for Warlocks, Liar's Handshake on Relativism or the exotic itself for Hunters, and then Consecration anything for Titans. I was thinking of breaking those down too, and showing them all off in one video, mainly for archival purposes, so let me know if you want to see that. But back to what we're actually here for, the other best loadout. I covered the statistical most popular loadout a couple weeks ago, and from the comments of that video, one other pairing of weapons kept being mentioned. And then when I took a look at light.gg, I found it there as well. This loadout is focused on the Call and Graviton Lance being what I think is the other most popular loadout. So today we'll be looking at why these weapons pair together so well, what these weapons uniquely offer us, and then how to optimize it. Of course, I'll also have a dim link down below that'll have everything I'm talking about today. And also, if you go down there, click that link, maybe hit the subscribe button, it helps me out a lot. But starting with the quick breakdown of each part, let's begin with the primary weapon, Graviton Lance. This is evidently a very popular weapon, and there are a couple reasons for that. Its main perk is Black Hole that says second shot of a burst rips a hole through space-time, does high damage and recoil with no fall off. This doesn't really mean much to us in PvE, it's just essentially saying that it's a 2-burst pulse rifle. The big thing though is Cosmology, where it says kills with this weapon cause enemy targets to detonate and spawn void projectiles that track targets. These are what causes Graviton Lance to be so good for ad clear. When you spawn those Void Seekers, things just die, the Void Seekers spawn more Void Seekers. This is what makes Graviton Lance so popular. And then on top of that, we do have the Catalyst, which gives us both Vorpal and Turnabout, so you get overshields and activities that have shields, which most of in-game content does have a lot of shielded enemies. Also, an interesting thing about this is you might see here that I actually don't have the Catalyst unlocked, but if we look at this footage, I actually do. So I don't really know what that's about, but you don't need the Catalyst equipped on the weapon to get the benefits of it. But regardless, Graviton Lance is an incredible weapon. It's up there with some of the best ad clear exotics with things like Sunshot and Trinity Ghoul. But then compounded with all of that, if we go back to its main exotic perk of being just a 2-round burst weapon, that gives it a very impressive DPS value. If we look at Mossy Max's DPS chart, you can see that Graviton Lance is just in the lead. The only thing above it is Revision Zero's 2-burst, and that's a kinetic weapon. So as you can see, Graviton Lance just puts out. That's what it does. The only thing, again, besides Revision Zero that can contend with it is our rocket sidearms, which use special ammo and aren't primary. But that brings us to the next weapon. We have the Call, which is our second piece of this loadout. I don't need to say much about this since I'm positive you've got one in your inventory right now. Rocket sidearms are cracked. The Call with Demo and Hatchling is just perfection. That's what I use. There are other rolls too, but pretty much every variation of this weapon is fantastic. And while the ad clear isn't as crazy as Graviton Lance, even with Hatchling, the Void Seekers are just very good, it packs a stronger punch, perfect for one-shotting trash ads even in the highest difficulty content. Things like Fanatics, Cursed Thrall, Screebs. The Call is going to be able to one-shot those. Another thing that makes the Call so great of a partner to Graviton Lance is that it builds Dark Transcendence very quickly. Graviton Lance's ad clear and Seekers should make sure you're full on light energy if your abilities didn't already do that. And then after that, the Call comes in clutch on the other side of things, guaranteeing dark buildup, especially so if you get Unravel and Threadlings. These two weapons work so well in tandem. Graviton Lance is for when you're just running around, and then the Call is for quickly dispatching something or clearing rooms of beefier enemies, with both weapons being able to dip into each other's roles. It's become apparent that a good loadout is one that allows you to use any weapon at any time. The only thing that these two weapons don't do great is single target boss damage, but your heavy slot and abilities should be able to handle that. Just like in my previous loadout videos, Apex Predator or Edge Transit fit in just fine. These are some of the most popular heavy weapons in the game, and you can use those to take out a GM boss, a champion, or whatever else you're going to need it for. Also, if you're using Edge Transit, you can double up on Void Surges to benefit both your primary weapon and your heavy. But now with the weapons covered, what unique strengths can we rely on and how do we optimize it? Well, first thing is how we stun champions. Graviton Lance has barriers on lock, and then the call deals with unstops. Overload champions admittedly are a bit of an issue with this loadout since they aren't covered by the 2 main weapons, but you could use Overload Sword in your heavy slot or just rely on things like Jolt or Slow from Stasis, which are abundant inside of the Prismatic kit. As for what else we can build into with the artifact, there are things like Void Hegemony or Expanding Abyss, but the only perk that I think is imperative when running the call on Graviton Lance is actually Threaded Blast. With this equipped, popping Tangles with the call turns them into nukes. This keeps Tangles super lethal in all difficulties, and just adds more to the room clearing potential of this loadout. And then lastly, exotic armor and builds can be whatever you want, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Every loadout I've covered thus far, weapons are ability independent, so you can run anything. But if you were looking for exotics to specifically build into these weapons, there are a couple options that each class has. This might sound a little familiar to my exotic recommendations for Fire of One loadouts. For Warlocks, besides Getaway Artist that I mentioned in the beginning of the video, you could run something like Nezarec Sin to build into Ability Regen when using Graviton Lance. You could also try to build more into Strand with something like Metaiodoxia or Swarmers, but I probably wouldn't invest too much into that. And then for Hunters, Gerfalcons is an absolute no-brainer because Graviton Lance is Void. Giving this weapon volatile rounds is just going to make it better. You could then also specifically pair this with like Commemoration to get the most out of that exotic. But ultimately, we're not being very creative here. And then lastly, for Titans, I'm not quite sure if there's anything that Graviton Lance or the Call can be built into specifically, so you're likely just gonna stick with Stoicism and some type of Consecration build. If I have any Titans watching right now, please let me know what you would pair with this loadout, because I'm kind of drawing up a blank. All in all, this loadout is fun. It's probably not better than Outbreak plus Indebted Kindness, and probably not a build I'll be running often. But if you're looking for a good set of weapons, this is one you can't go wrong with. And if you're interested in checking out what the #1 loadout is in the game, it's what I just mentioned, and I did a video covering that. And that's all I really have to say. Thank you so much for watching this far into the video. Your viewership means a ton. If you've got any other loadouts that you think I should make a video on, please drop them in the comments. I love hearing what ideas you guys have, and I'll probably be looking around there for a new video idea. Also, if you like what I do, a like, a comment, a subscription goes a long way. We're on the road to 10,000 subscribers. Hoping to hit that as we get to episode 2, and I'm super happy to have you with me. If you want to support me and support the channel, but you can't think of a comment though, comment down below Graviton Call. A bit of a mashup of the 2 names. And with that, as always, I hope you are having a great day, and I hope to see you around. Damn, you're bagging me? That's fucked up, dude. Put that in the video.